Good morning, friends, and welcome to this edition of Anti-Doping Program brought to you by NPTEL in association with IIT Madras. I'm Professor Dobson Dominic, and this is a continuation of Week 7 lectures, Lecture 2. And today we are going to look into athlete biological passport in detail. So, in Week 7, the previous lecture was what is the several ways to adopted by World Anti-Doping Agency and National Doping Organization in doping control. Today we are going to look into one of the important strategies adopted by WADA, that is athlete biological passport. We are going to look into this in detail. So in this lecture we look into what is athlete biological passport and how do athletes abuse these passport. What are the different methods in detection in anti-doping, the prevention strategies in doping control, and we will conclude with the future of doping control. So to start with, the fundamental principle of athlete biological passport ABP is to monitor selected biological variables over time that indirectly reveal the effects of doping rather than to attempting to detect the doping substance or method itself. That means the athlete need not be caught using the banned substance, or neither the sample might test positive, but there are several variables in the biological sample in either urine or blood that may indirectly reveal the effects of doping. This is the fundamental principle of athlete biological passport. This was employed by WADA and first approved by WADA's executive committee and took effect on December 1st, 2009. So, the timeline for athlete biological passport, the concept was developed in early 2009 and there was a formal introduction in 2009 by WADA where they initially launched the hematological module and then expanded in 2014 with the steroid module, and in latest in 2023 they also added the endocrine module. So what are the objectives of athlete biological passport? The first objective is flagging athletes and samples for further testing. The athlete biological passport uses longitudinal data to highlight suspicious patterns that may indicate doping. When unusual profiles are detected, they can trigger targeted testing. That means additional test is focused on the flagged or the suspicious athlete. ABP helps optimize resources for the doping organization by focusing testing efforts on athletes with abnormal biomarker profiles. The second objective of ABP, Athlete Biological Passport, is it is not a standalone test but it complements the analytical testing. It detects physiological changes over a course of time rather than identifying a specific banned substance, or thus strengthening the overall anti-doping strategy. Retrospective analysis and investigations. By monitoring biomarker data over time, athlete biological passport allows for long-term storage of sample for future testing as newer methods develop. It assists in investigation by providing evidence that can be re-examined if new suspicions arise or newer testing technologies become available. The athlete biological passport also supports anti-doping rule violations based on use of substances rather than just the presence, thereby enhancing the reach of anti-doping efforts. So, the fundamental structure at which athlete biological passport is based are on three modules. One, the hematological module. 2 the steroid module, and 3 the endocrine module. Together, they monitor various biomarkers to identify abnormalities that suggest doping. Each module targets specific type of doping using longitudinal data analysis to uncover pattern indicative of substance use. What do you mean by that? It need not be tested positive. The athlete, when they found to that there is a pattern with the longitudinal data analysis, these modules helps in preventing substance use or prohibited methods. Hematological module is the first module in Athlete Biological Passport. Its purpose is focused on detecting blood doping, which artificially enhances the athlete's oxygen carrying capacity to improve endurance performance. This can involve use of substance like erythropoietin or methods like blood transfusions. The key markers in hematological module, the first one is hemoglobin. As a primary oxygen transporter, elevated level of hemoglobin can indicate use of either erythropoietin or blood transfusions. This increase is due to artificially raised RBC count. The second key marker in a hematological module is hematocrit. This is the proportion of red blood corpuscles in the blood. Abnormally high values may signal an increase in red blood cell mass, which is associated with manipulation of the blood sample. Continuation of the key markers, reticulocyte percentage or RET percentage, red percentage. Reticulocytes are immature red blood corpuscles with the percentage reflecting rate of new RBC production. Unusual levels may suggest either use of ESAs or blood transfusion. The next marker is a composite score called OFF score, which is a combination of hemoglobin and reticulocyte values. The OFF score helps flag blood doping by identifying inconsistencies between two markers that may suggest abnormal red blood cell dynamics. What is the mechanism of detection? By monitoring these regular markers regularly, it reduces the chances of athletes avoiding detection through timing or microdosing. Okay, with longitudinal approach, small but consistent changes in blood values can reveal blood manipulation even if traditional doping substances are no longer present in the system. This mechanism can even capture small fluctuations that may go detected with single time point test. It also adds depth to anti-doping strategies by identifying prolonged pattern rather than transient spikes in the biomarkers. The hematological module is especially relevant in endurance sports like cycling, cross-country skiing and long-distance running, where enhanced oxygen delivery can significantly boost the performance. The second athlete biological module is steroid module. Anabolic steroids, often synthetic, are used to increase muscle mass, strength and enhance recovery. The steroid module detects anabolic steroid use by tracking fluctuations in an athlete's steroid profile. It is highly sensitive for both synthetic and endogenous steroid use, with a focus on detecting even small deviation from an athlete's typical steroid profile. It is very effective at identifying both direct steroid use and also indirect signs like any sample tampering. So what are the key markers in steroid module? The first one is TE ratio or testosterone to epitestosterone ratio. T ratio is central to detecting synthetic testosterone use. The normal level of T is 1:1. Elevated ratio above 4:1 may suggest exogenous testosterone administration. The second marker in steroid module is androsterone to ethiocholinol ETO. As testosterone metabolites, elevated levels can indicate steroid use. Abnormal ratios between these two metabolites, androsterone and ethiocholinol, can trigger further testing. The other ratios in steroid module are AT ratio or AETO ratio, that is androsterone to testosterone ratio or androsterone to ethiocholinol ratio. By examining the ratio between various metabolites, subtle changes in the steroid profile can reveal doping that would normally not show in absolute levels alone. The last key marker in steroid module is GC to the C or IRMS testing. If suspicious markers or ratios are detected, gas chromatography, combustion isotope radio mass spectrometry, that is GC to C to IRMS, can confirm synthetic testosterone use by identifying distinct carbon isotope pattern. Okay. So, for detecting synthetic testosterone, gas chromatography and combustion or isotope ratio mass spectrometry is used. The detection mechanism in synthetic module establishes an individualized steroid profile, making it challenging for athletes to mask steroid use. By monitoring markers over time, it captures physiological changes that accompany steroid administration. It can also detect attempts to evade detection through sample tampering or urine substitution, as baseline steroid profiles are typically stable and deviations are easily red flagged and caught. Application of steroid module is very widely applicable in sports where increased strength and muscle recovery are advantage, such as in sports like weightlifting, athletics, track and field athletics, and also combat sports. The third and last module was recently added in 2023 by WADA. The endocrine module focuses on detecting growth hormone abuse by tracking biomarkers that reflect the use of growth hormone. Growth hormone is typically used or misused by athletes to enhance muscle growth, recovery, and overall physical ability. The advantage of endocrine module is it offers a focused approach to detecting hard to taste, hard to track form of doping, that is the growth hormone use through indirect biomarkers. By tracking long-term effects rather than transient peaks, it enhances detection reliability. The key markers in hormone module is insulin-like growth factor 1, a key indicator of growth hormone activity. This IGF-1 level may be increased when growth hormone is administered, and high level can also indicate growth hormone or growth hormone secretagogues, that is substances that promote growth hormone release. The next key marker in hormone module is N-terminal propeptide or type 3 collagen. Growth hormone stimulates collagen synthesis, and peptide 3 NP levels may suggest doping of growth hormone. The third key marker in growth hormone in hormone module is growth hormone 2000 score. It is a composite score which incorporates several biomarkers and also considers age factors like age, gender, which is used to improve accuracy. It sets a threshold to flag potential growth hormone abuse. The detection mechanism of endocrine module tracks hormonal markers longitudinally, which is similar to the other two modules, hematological and synthetic module. It provides a robust mechanism for detecting growth hormone use by identifying sustained deviation in IGF-1, insulin like growth factor 1, and P3NP, peptide 3 NP. It captures prolonged physiological effects of growth hormone that can remain even after growth hormone itself is no longer detectable. This offers a long detection window. So, thereby, if an athlete has abused growth hormone during the training period, they can still be caught during a competition period or even later. So, this application of hormone module is very relevant in sports that benefit rapid recovery, muscle growth, and enhanced physical capacity, such as swimming, track and field athletics, and rugby. So, we have seen the three important modules: hematological module, steroid module, and hormonal module. Now, what is the role of WADA in athlete biological passport? WADA plays a central role in the development of implementation and ongoing management of ABP program by setting standards, overseeing compliance, coordinating with national organization, thereby ensuring athlete biological passport remains a reliable and effective tool in fight against doping. So, key responsibilities of WADA are development and standardization of the ABP, oversight and compliance, data management and data security, supporting investigations, and ensuring strict sanctions. They also help in research, development, and education of athlete and athlete support staff. WADA also helps in global coordination and anti-doping. Next comes the Passport Management Unit, PMUs. They are responsible for the effective implementation and management of athlete biological passport. They work closely with anti-doping organizations, laboratories, and WADA to oversee data collection, analysis, and review, ensuring the program's integrity and reliability. The key responsibilities are centralized coordination, data collection and profiling, expert review of findings, data security and privacy, support for investigations and sanctions, and continuous improvement. Collection and transport of samples. The sample protocols enables detailed requirement for blood and urine collection, including timing post exercise. Transportation guidelines. The athlete sample must be kept in a controlled temperature because the specific gravity of the sample is very important, along with proper data logging. Analytical requirements for laboratories. So, the lab standards has to follow a strict guideline for blood and urine analysis, including proper equipment and procedures. Quality assurance. The lab must be WADA accredited, like the National Anti-Doping Agency lab in New Delhi, and this labs has to participate in external quality assessment. Then only WADA makes it an accredited lab. Very important is the athlete profile and data analysis, commonly termed as ADAMS database. What is ADAMS database? It is a centralized system for managing the athlete biological passport data, ensuring privacy and integrity. They also built a profile using an adaptive model to track individual biomarkers like urine and blood over time. Next comes the expert review process. The role of expert panels in evaluating abnormal profile and recommending further investigations or sanction. The stages of review from initial screening to potential confirmation of doping. Finally, the result management procedures handling abnormal finding. Established steps are there for managing an atypical result, including potential anti-doping rule violation. And there is a flow in the process which involves testing, analysis and expert review to ensure due process is followed. And lastly, the athlete passport sharing and custody. The information coordination is important, thereby ensuring only one passport per athlete, which is managed in the central database of ADAMS. The role of anti-doping organization is very important in coordinating athlete biological passport. So these are the references, primarily World Anti-Doping Code and the National Anti-Doping Rules. Happy reading and Jai Hind.